Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all my Prophecy Spellbook Yugioh deck profile for January 2021. Wanted to finally do an update to the Prophecy deck. It's one of my favorites for sure, and definitely one of the decks I've built the most throughout the years. This deck was just such a high trade bait deck. People always wanted this deck. It's a very, very fun deck, and here I am rebuilding it again. This time around, I'm hoping to one day finally fully hollow out the deck again with max rarity of everything in the deck. I have a few cards built up for it so far, but like I said, hopefully one day I'll reach that status again with it. I wanted to try and go for as pure of a Prophecy deck as I could, with a few spellcaster techs of my own in the deck, just for the playstyle to fully utilize every spellbook we have out there for the majority of the cards. Let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for starting off, our main go-to boss monster is High Priestess of Prophecy. This is definitely one I want to get in Secret Rare sometime later down the road. You can reveal 3 spellbook cards in your hand to special summon this card from your hand, and once per turn, you can banish 1 spellbook spell from your hand or graveyard to target 1 card on the field and destroy that target. So it's your powerhouse, just an easy special summon onto the field, but also with our Link monster being Crowley, the first Prophecyer, we can even just summon this card out without needing the special summon option, but still a great one to rely on with all the different spellbook cards that we do run in the deck. Definitely easy for sure to get this card on the field and then destroy our opponent's card, and then just have a 2500 attack point monster, which we can power up with other cards in the deck, including, Spellbook of Power, and protect it with cards like Spellbook of Wisdom as well. With one of our main go-to search cards in the deck being Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. So High Priestess of Prophecy and all the other monsters for the Prophecy lineup don't have Spellbook in their name, which is very, very useful for Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, making it searchable with cards like Spellbook of Secrets. So another 3 of for sure in the deck. If this card is normal summon or flip face up, you add 1 Spellbook spell from your deck to your hand, which will be the majority of any of the cards we need for any of our plays that we set up. So being able to have 3 of this card gives us that option for more and more setup in the deck, and then just having the recycle power all together for all 3 of these gives us resource after resource that we can use, and also, use Spellbook Magician of Prophecy for the Link summon of our go-to guy that I spoke of before, being Crowley, the first Prophecy. I really do like using this card in the deck. It adds for a lot of different fun play styles for sure. And now the next spot would normally go to Temperance of Prophecy, being the tribute card to special summon out High Priestess a little faster, or even Justice of Prophecy. It could be either one of these 2 spots in the deck, but for a little more fun for the lineup, I'm actually running 3 Silent Magician. It cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by tributing 1 spellcaster type monster, and it cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card gains 500 attack for each card in your hand, and once per turn, during either player's turn, when a spell card is activated, you can negate the activation if this card is destroyed by battle, or if this card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect. You can special summon 1 Silent Magician monster from your hand or deck, except for Silent Magician, ignoring its summoning condition, which obviously that'll be to go into Silent Magician level 8, another one of our boss monsters in the deck, along with High Priestess. I just really love summoning this card out in the deck. It cannot be normal summon or set. It must be special summon by Silent Magician level 4, but Silent Magician gets around this special summon since it ignores the special summon condition, and it's unaffected by your opponent's spell effects. So especially when I was going up against decks like, for example, Sky Strikers, this card was just immune to all the other different cards in that setup. But this is player preference. I really do love running this engine, just with the hand buildup we can get it with a bunch of different cards in the deck. The fact that Spellbook Magician of Prophecy searches out a spell just gives us 1 additional one for then you to summon Silent Magician out onto the field. But if you don't want to run the Silent Magician engine in the deck, you can always take out the 3 Silent Magician for either Temperance of Prophecy or Justice of Prophecy, both being level 3 searchers for spellbooks and spellcasters alike in the deck. And the Silent Magician level 8 can be taken out for World of Prophecy, one of the higher level special summon spellbooks monsters for the lineup. And once again, you can try both, see which one you prefer the most. I really do like the Silent Magician play for sure. And then for a few other spellcaster type monsters to help with the extra deck summonings as well, I run 3 Jester Confit, being another special summon and a spellcaster monster. It also just helps for setup, being able to, have Spellbook of Knowledge draw power off of this card alone, and then just an easy special summon for more link summon resources. Since Crowley, the first Profiteer, just needs 2 spellcaster type monsters to make it, having Jester Confit not take up the normal summon and just be an easy special summon onto the field is a big plus there for sure. And then the last of the monsters that I run in the deck are 3 Effect Veiler, with this card being my preferred hand trap, just being another spellcaster type monster, so it's resource for all of the different spells that I run in the deck as well. You can try Ash Blossom, but like I said, this card definitely does come in handy, just relying on this card for the fact that it is a spellcaster type, and being able to stop my opponent's monsters, obviously, with its own card skill also. And that is it for the monsters. It's a pretty small, Spellbook Prophecy monster engine, relying on a good number of other spellcasters, with the main focus in the spell lineup obviously being the actual spells. Running 3 Spellbook of Secrets, I definitely want to get an ultimate rare playset of this card. They look so cool, especially with how this card looks. You add 1 Spellbook card from your deck to your hand, except for Spellbook of Secrets. You can only activate 1 Spellbook of Secrets per turn. Your go-to spell searcher for any of the other Spellbook cards in the deck. You can even search out Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, since it has Spellbook in its name, which just extends your searches and thins the deck out even more using this card. So a definite 3 of for sure. I also run 3 Spellbook of Knowledge. You send to the graveyard either 1 spellcaster monster you control, or 1 other spellbook card from your hand or face up from your field, except for Spellbook of Knowledge. If you do draw 2 cards, it's a once per turn as well, but another target. You can search Spellbook Magician of Prophecy with Secrets, and then use Secrets to search out Knowledge, and then send Spellbook Magician of Prophecy to the graveyard for Knowledge's draw power, or another one, so then you can save the play for Silent Magician in your hand to summon out onto the field and have plenty of draw power to boost its attack up on the field also. And one of your go-to powerhouses in the deck, just for relying on this card to take care of a lot of your opponent's cards, that is Spellbook of Fate. If you control a spellcaster type monster, you can banish up to 3 Spellbook spell cards from your graveyard and apply this effect depending on the number of spell cards banished for this card's activation. You can only activate 1 Spellbook of Fate per turn. If you banish 1, you return a set spell or trap on the field to the hand. 2, you change a monster on the field to face down defense position or face up attack. And 3, you banish 1 card your opponent controls. And this card doesn't target, making it that much more scary of a card, being able to just take care of monsters that easily for the banish. And there are other spells we run in the deck that can, recycle the cards we banished, making it that much better. And the fact that we can copy this card with our next go-to card makes it all the better. And that one is Spellbook of the Master. If you control a spellcaster type monster, you can reveal 1 other spellbook card in your hand, then target 1 spellbook normal spell in your graveyard, except Spellbook of the Master. This card's effect becomes that target's effect. So you can copy Knowledge, Secrets, all the different normal spells, including Power and also Eternity. Being able just to have that recycle power, getting more and more banished cards back into our graveyard would definitely be my go-to one, with how much we use Spellbook of Fate for its playstyle. And I also run 2 the Grand Spellbook Tower, our field spell in the deck, giving you additional draw power by just placing back spellbooks from your graveyard to the bottom of the deck once per turn for that option, and then just being a special summon option as well. If this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, you special summon 1 spellcaster type monster from your hand or a deck whose level is less than or equal to the number of spellbook cards in your graveyard, with the majority of these spellbooks we have being pretty low level, so being able to summon those cards out easily just gives us more resources. But like I said, you mainly want to rely on this card for the draw power, giving you that additional draw during your drop phase, especially gives you that hand power you'll need, especially because you can eat up a lot of cards for sure. I feel like I'm saying especially a lot during this. It's just that good of a card for sure. And then for some of the one-ofs for the Spellbook lineup, I also run 1 Spellbook of Wisdom, 1 Spellbook of Eternity, and the 1 Spellbook of Power. Now with these cards, I run the Wisdom. It's great for protecting my High Priestess of Prophecy or any of my other spellcaster type monsters. It doesn't specify the Prophecy monsters, but if you didn't want to run Wisdom, you can always put in a second copy of Spellbook of Eternity, or if you want to keep the number of Wisdom as well, you can take out the next 2 cards that I run, because once again, it's just a preferred player tech at that choice. But Spellbook of Power boosts up and searches with my spellcaster monsters. Eternity having the banish recycle, and Wisdom we already spoke of having the protection for these spells. I don't normally do specific one-ofs for the decks, but not running Monster Reborn or anything like that definitely does feel strange using a different one-of lineup for my spell count. And also, I run the 1 Secret Village of the Spellcaster and the 1 Terraforming. More search power. Terraforming can also search out the Grand Spellbook Tower, but this shuts down my opponent a pretty good amount as well, with not being able to use these spells. So I like the search power for both the options for my field spells with these 2 cards available to you. If you don't want to run either of these, you can always put in an additional Spellbook of Eternity in this spot, and I wasn't running Spellbook of Life, the special summon equip spell, so if you wanted to run that, that could be a potential spot to put this card in also. And also to finish off these spells with just a little more draw power, I run 3 Pot of Extravagance. You don't really go into your extra deck much. You have the 2 targets for Crowley, the first Prophecyr, as those options available to you. But as for just the chance that you'll hit both, very, less risky than some of the other cards you may hit. But still, like I said, you're mostly going with your main deck plays, and just some of the additional monsters we run in the extra deck are useful at times, but you definitely do need that draw power more, and Pot of Extravagance can fulfill that with just all the different banishing you can use. And lastly, the only trap I am running in the deck is Infinite Impermanence, just a good hand trap to rely on using a trap spot for sure. Being able to stop a good amount of my opponent's effects, being able to activate this card from my hand especially. I know it's a more difficult card to get a hold of, so if you don't have this card, you can always try cards like a Metaverse for one of the spots, and you can also increase some of the other spots with other spellcaster type monsters. I even thought of maybe using Jowgen the Spiritualist, shutting down special summons. That could be a potential thing to take out and put an additional number of this, or you can even just increase the number of your other spells that you use for your spellbook lineup and putting Spellbook of the Master to 3, and even bumping up some of the numbers for the other spellcasters if you don't want to run Infinite Impermanence. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I have 2 Crowley, the first Prophecyr. This can even be a potential 3 of, just so you always have the chance to not banish all 3 with your, Pot of Extravagance. You need 2 spellcaster type monsters to make it. If this card is link summoned, you can reveal 3 spellbook cards with different names from your deck, and your opponent randomly picks one for you to add to your hand. And then also shuffle the rest of the deck. You can only use this effect of your Crowley, the first Prophecyr, once per turn. And each time 1 level 5 or higher monster is normal summon, it can be summoned without tributing. So with this, you can easily summon out your High Priestess of Prophecy onto the field without even using its special summon. I know your resources can be kind of low for the setup, but just being able to do this makes it that much easier as well for the play to rely on. For the rest of the extra deck, like I said, was pretty generic just to make room for the extravagance banishes. But I run 1 Akashic Magician, especially good, just having another spellcaster option to go into. 1 Barricade Board Blocker to recycle the field spells. 1 Nightmare Phoenix. 1 Nightmare Cerberus. 1 Underclock Taker. 1 Cross Sheep. 1 Link Karibo. 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Borreload Dragon, 1 Access Code Talker, and 1 Apollosa, Bow of the Goddess for the rest of the Link monsters. And then for the Xyz monsters, I run 1 Slacker Magician and 1 Downer Magician with the Jester Confit and the Effect Veilers. It's possible to, go into this Xyz monster, which is also a spellcaster, and stop a good amount of your opponent's plays. And once you get through the detached cards, you can always overlay into Downer Magician using this card just to keep an additional spellcaster type monster on the field to rely on for those resources. But as for the go-to plays, one of the most generic ones that you'll want to do for this deck is when you open up your Spellbook of Secrets, or it can even be your Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, using either one of these for the example. So if you normal summon into your Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, you'll add the Spellbook of Secrets to your hand, and then activating the Spellbook of Secrets to then search out your additional spell, which is your Spellbook of Knowledge. So then you can either activate the Spellbook of Knowledge, or you can make your additional search, which will then be for your Spellbook of the Mastery, which then, don't forget, you have to have the spellcaster type monster on the field, so this will only work if you have your Spellbook Magician. So you'll activate this, and the requirement you'll need as well is just 1 additional spell in your hand. So regardless of what it is, it could be the Spellbook of Fate, Power, Eternity, you name it. As long as you have the 1 other card, the potential one you'll be searching off of Spellbook of the Master will be the other one you add to your hand. So you'll activate Spellbook of the Master, reveal a spell in your hand. Let's just say it's the Power for the turn, copying the secrets and then allowing it to search out an additional card aside from the Power to your hand. you can add Spellbook of Fate with that search, and then having the Spellbook of Knowledge as the initial search from your card, having the fact that you search Spellbook of the Mastery. If you open up and search this card, you can have the additional card to send off. With Spellbook of Knowledge, you can keep Spellbook Magician on the field if you're going to go for your one play, which would be to then tribute it to summon out Silent Magician, having the additional cards you drew with Spellbook of Knowledge as an added plus for this, and then having the option to go into your Silent Magician level 8. Or you can even use the Spellbook Magician on the field for the draw power with the additional draw that you'll go into, having the potential for you to draw into your High Priestess of Prophecy, revealing the 3 spells in your hand since you already had your normal summon this turn to summon this card out onto the field. One of the other ones you can rely on is one of my favorites when you special summon out the Jester Confit, and then also normal summon Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, giving you the search for the Spellbook of Secrets, and then having that in your hand, you'll link the 2 into your Crowley, the first Prophesier, which then you'll be able to add the 3 additional cards that you revealed to your opponent, and then pick one of them to add to your hand at randomly. So just go with what you believe would be the best draw power search, being the fact when it's linked summon, you reveal 3 spellbooks with different names, so remember that as well, giving you plenty of options there, and the additional search, because then whatever you add to your hand, you'll then be able to add the card that they didn't select or that you need for the play with the Spellbook of Secrets added with your Spellbook Magician. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, I really do enjoy updating the Prophecy Spellbook deck as often as I do. Hopefully I can, like I said, definitely one of my goals to max rarity that out for sure. So wish me luck for that for sure, and we'll see how long I can hold on to the Spellbook deck this time around. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.